Hi, my name is Donna Martin, and this is part two of my post activity reflection video for my principal practicum, observation number one. What did I learn from this activity? From this activity, I learned the importance of using structured, collaborative processes to engage stakeholders in decision making and problem solving. Participating in the activity allowed me to see how diverse perspectives reveal both strengths and gaps in students and how they could be possibly overlooked, especially for our economically disadvantaged students or our at-risk students. I also developed a stronger understanding of how data, campus priorities, and equity considerations must guide leadership decisions. How will I apply this learning in the future? In future leadership roles, I will intentionally include a representative group of stakeholders in critical discussions, ensuring that teachers, support staff, and families have a voice in shaping campus initiatives. I will also apply this learning by using disaggregated data, which I did in the observation, to focus our efforts on the needs of underserved student populations, such as our economically disadvantaged and our at-risk students, aligning them with our campus vision and mission statement to improve our goals overall. This approach will help create shared ownership and foster a structure for accountability, not just academically, but overall for the entire student, for the whole student. What experiences or activities will help me grow further? Honestly, to just continue to build on my learning. I would benefit from leading a full data-driven decision-making session on my campus, where I facilitate root cause analysis, create SMART goal developments, which was something I actually did today with my team during our PLC meeting, which was really good. We created a SMART goal for our department. Also by observing experienced principals, just kind of shadowing them, seeing how they engage with the stakeholders within the community and participating in additional professional developments and extracurricular activities that's focused on equity and leadership practices to really hone in on my skills. What went well in observation number one? I do believe, in my opinion, that the collaboration went really well. The discussions that we had were really in-depth discussions. We really dived deep into the data for fourth grade math. We looked at the trends and, just seeing a spiral, so to speak, of the data and, how students either progressed or regressed for those economically disadvantaged students or the at-risk students. So I think the collaboration overall was a really good focal point in observation number one. What will I do differently next time? Next time, I think I would like to create an group activity that would be beneficial to the economically disadvantaged students as well as the at-risk students. Something that my colleagues and I talked about during observation number one was, what does intervention specifically for them look like, right? What can we do to hone in on those interventions and, trying something different if what is currently in place is not working or we're not seeing any progress or lack thereof with what we currently have. So I think about just being very intentional about what interventions are put into place and making sure that those interventions are, again, intentional, structured. They're focused on those specific students that are needing gaps filled academically. What additional data will I provide for my next observation? I think with planning my next observation, I would like to look at the reading data and kind of just correlate that to the math, because we all know that if a student is not a strong reader, then that is going to hinder them with understanding math concepts. Math is very concrete. Understanding math vocabulary, which is a very big thing. And we see that with a lot of our economically disadvantaged students, that without the basis or the foundation of good reading skills, good phonological awareness, good fluency, comprehension, all of those things are a factor when it is time for it to be applied to another subject such as math. Though math can be very manipulative, the vocabulary in math is very strong, and vocabulary is tied to reading, right? So I think just looking at that reading data, correlating that with the math to see where's there a potential disconnect for those high focus groups and the economically disadvantaged students, I think that that would be very beneficial for us to look at for the videos for observation number 2. Who will be involved in observation number 2? I am going to continue to use my colleagues that were in observation number 1. I felt that they had really strong talking points. There were a lot of beneficial things that happened in observation 1, us remaining on topic. So I'm going to keep those same 2 colleagues in for observation number 2. I've already talked to them about, being a part of the team. I would like to add in a 3rd person for the sake of having an even more diverse conversation, and having, another set of different ideas, right, to pull from. And, I think that collaborating is extremely important because it allows everyone to just bring something that they are really good at to the forefront. So I do plan on keeping the 2 colleagues that were in observation number 1 again for observation number 2, and adding a 3rd person in there, and possibly just building on that every observation, maybe just adding 1 more person each time, right? What will I share with my site supervisor? So I do plan on sharing the focus questions that I came up with for observation number 2, the data that we reviewed, also the feedback. What I did that was very helpful to me was provide my colleagues with a feedback form for them to give me feedback on how they feel like the observation went, some things that they got from it as well, which was very positive feedback. That some of my colleagues are saying that they're going to take this into their PLC. So those are some things that I plan on sharing with my site supervisor, because I think the conversation that was had around the data that was presented to them, that we present, these are things that can be taken back to PLC and suggested that we could possibly try to implement here on my campus, which will only benefit our students and our campus as a whole, especially if we're trying to grow. So I think taking that information to my site supervisor will allow him to be open-minded to different ideas and suggestions, and really just maybe thinking out of the box, and providing a more wider scope of collaboration than we already have on campus. What is the purpose of the next observation? I think for me, the purpose of the next observation is to dive deeper into the data. Really dive deep into the data and find correlations between other subjects and math, and possibly, look at different grade levels. Look at how does, again, reading correlate with math, how are they intertwined, right? How is that intertwined with science? Again, because science is another subject that is really big on vocabulary, just like math is, less concrete, more abstract. So each subject has something different that is more so a focal point. So really just dive in deep into the data. I know that I attended an accountability and assessments meeting here on campus with my administration team, and we really dived very deep into data, which was very beneficial. So I'm hoping to dive as deep as we did in that accountability and assessments meeting, where you're not only now looking at the TEKS like we did, but looking at the teacher, right? Looking at a teacher's success rate, and why did a teacher maybe have more success this year than she has had in previous years. What has possibly changed? Did we change instructional coaches? Looking at staffing, really just diving deeper into the data, looking at maybe the tenure of our teachers as well as, the staff. So definitely just a deep dive into the data. When do I plan to record it? I do plan on recording it hopefully around October 8th is the goal. I know that the week that it's due, my district will actually be on fall break. So I will not have access to my campus to record that particular week. So I will need to record it in advance for the sake of needing the recordings to be here on campus. Do I have any other relevant plans? Really just, I do plan on having a meeting with my site supervisor to kind of just go over what I did for observation number 1, create a strategic plan on what I plan on doing for observation number 2, getting any pointers or tips from him that he feels or thinks could be beneficial to observation number 2, and just some things that maybe I could have done differently, some topics that I may need to touch on that I did not touch on in observation number 1. So really just getting that feedback, that constructive feedback, taking that all in, and really utilizing that information, not just sitting on it, but this is the feedback that I've received, and what am I going to do differently for this upcoming observation number 2. So I plan on being very strategic about the things that we're discussing within observation number 2, and just making sure that all the information is accurate, precise. So that's what I plan on doing. Those are my relevant plans as of now, pulling all the same data, possibly looking at different year, to again bring that correlation and to see how everything is intertwined, and each subject literally ties into the other subject somehow, some way. They're all intertwined. And each subject needs the other subject in order for it to be successful. So those are my plans for observation number 2. I hope that this video was beneficial and informative for what I got from observation number 1 and my plans for observation number 2. Thank you.